Bay Buchanan was the youngest treasurer of the United States, a position to which she was appointed by President Ronald Reagan. She was the national treasurer for Reagan's 1980 and 1984 presidential campaigns. In addition, she ran all of her brother Pat Buchanan's presidential campaigns, and in 2012 was a senior advisor to Mitt Romney. Bay is the author of 2 books, The Extreme Makeover of Hillary Rodham Clinton and Bay and Her Boys, Unexpected Lessons I Learned as a Single Mom. She is a staunch pro-life advocate, a wife, and a mother of 3 grown sons. She is the recipient of CBLPI's 2002 Conservative Leadership Award and 2007 Woman of the Year Award. Bay has spoken for CBLPI at numerous lunches, seminars, conferences, and college lectures, and is one of CBLPI's most popular campus speakers. Please help me in welcoming Bay Buchanan.
Thank you all. Thanks very, very much. I wonder if I can put this up here. Is this tied to you all back here? You're picking up your volume from here? Okay, all right. Is this okay now? Did I move it? All right. It is just wonderful to be among you all. I love doing these conferences. Michelle here has just done an amazing, a wonderful job with Claire Booth Luce. Opportunity for us to get together as women and be able to talk a little bit. You all have a chance to speak to Michelle and other women who have been through it, done it, and might have some answers that inspire you all. So I am delighted to be here and to speak about a favorite topic of mine. I've asked me to speak about leadership. and what I want to do first is to kind of mention to you the realization. I know you're not here unless you already have convinced in your hearts that you're conservatives and that this is a cause that means something to you and that you may indeed want to be a leader that's involved in the movement. All of this is terrific, but I just want to warn you that it is extremely difficult to be a leader, especially in the conservative movement in this country and on college campuses. This is something you've already come to realize. It's harder than even when Michelle and I were going to college that many years ago, way, way long ago. But there are things that you have to recognize and understand so that you're not easily intimidated, you're not hesitant, you're not thinking maybe I don't want to do this, that it is an important cause and that you all have to determine what direction you want to take within this terrific movement of ours. So let me start by just saying I was enormously inspired by Ronald Reagan. I had 10 years with him, and I thought maybe if I shared a few lessons I learned from him and then applied it to how it would work for you all. It might be of use. I do want to leave a little time for questions, though, so I have this terrible tendency. I speak fast anyhow, but if somebody says, look, you got to squeeze it, instead of 25, you're 20, I just talk faster. I don't cut anything out, so it's not always the best. So let me just say that Ronald Reagan was bigger in life for me. He was, I worked with him in 76 when he lost, stayed with him through 80 when he won. Worked in his administration, as you heard, as his U.S. Treasurer. Remained with him in 84 when he ran for re-elect. So I had a great deal of experience working with him. But the thing was, number one, even before I had the privilege of working with him, I knew him as the leader of the conservative movement in this country. He was recognized for years as the person you would go to when you say, who is the person that best represents this movement for us? And he always made you proud. As a conservative, I was always proud. I never had to say, well, sometimes, no, always. He was so proud to represent our movement. And yet, it was a ridiculed movement. People laughed and scorned, called him names. He never hesitated. He was still gave this impression to you always that this is the greatest movement. It is one you need to belong to feel comfortable in. And he gives you cover, and that's what you all need. It's one of the great things about this institute that Michelle has started and other organizations and the opportunity for you all to meet with leaders in the movement is it gives you cover. Because as young people, sometimes we start thinking, a lot of people opposed to this position. Maybe I'm not right. Maybe I should consider this other position, And you need the opportunity to decide what is it you believe. And if you're given a little cover while you're doing that, it is all you need to take the next step. He was a man that he knew what he believed. He knew exactly where he thought this country needed to go. He never hesitated to express it. He was bold and very certain about his beliefs, constantly espousing them against other conservatives at times, as in Bill Buckley. They took a disagreement on issues. He didn't hesitate. The brilliant Bill Buckley, he just said, "No, Bill, you're wrong this time," and they would debate it. He was phenomenal, and that is one of the things that I believe you all have to get. You have to get to the place where you feel so confident in your beliefs, so positive that this is who you are. This is what you believe, not what your parents believe, not what I believe, or teachers, or mentors, or leaders. It's what you believe. And it may vary a little bit from your best friend or a conservative that you associate with. It's all right. But the key is you all have to come to the conclusion of, who am I? What is it that really moves me? What issues is it that will, or issues are, I think I've got it. What are they that will cause me to stand up, even with opposition, and be bold, and not be hesitant, and not be beat down? How can you be certain that you will be someone who will be the person who's the voice for this movement or that issue, and not be hesitated, and not be intimidated? And the key is this. As Ronald Reagan did, he spent years talking, debating, speaking, studying, and all that time he was called names, he was threatened, he just kept reading and studying and going out amongst the American people to such an extent that there came a time in his life, an early part of his life, when he was certain that America was great. It was the greatest nation on the earth, and he believed in its people like nothing else. He loved the American people, and that's the impression. When you heard him speak, you knew he believed in you. He felt that he was certain that if you were given the proper opportunities, as a country should offer its people, that you would stand up and take that opportunity, and you would take care of your families and your community. You would do all the right things because you're a good people. He gave you the sense that he believed in you, and then he lifted you up to do those things he was certain you would do. That's what made him great. He was a leader. He was a leader. I had a girlfriend in high school. She heard I went to work with Ronald Reagan in '76. And at the time I was, 26 years old or so. And so I ran into her, and she was very pro-choice and far more liberal. And she said, "Are you crazy? What are you putting yourself behind this guy? He's a B actor, orange hair. He's a wingnut. And what are you doing, wasting your time like this?" And 4 years later, of course, I was still with him, and I was the Treasurer of the United States. And she wrote me a note and said, maybe I was wrong on this, So I called her up, and we chatted. I said, "Who'd you vote for?" And she said, "Ronald Reagan." I said, "What?" And she said, "Yeah, how could you possibly have done that?" And she said, "I listened to him, and he made me feel as if he knew how to fix these problems. He knew where to take this country. And I didn't, but I felt certain he did. And so I voted for him." That's what you can do for others. You are capable of doing that, of just speaking to them and encouraging them, and to be certain about your own beliefs and share that. You can make other people think, maybe she's got something, Maybe she's on the right track. That's what it's about. That's what leadership is about. So what I want to talk about here in the few minutes that I have is, how do you get to that place that Ronald Reagan was at, and where I'm fortunate to say I am? It is a long, tough road. If you have, I think one of the first things you should do is read Teddy Roosevelt's Man in the Arena, because it describes being knocked down, being dirtied, being slapped, being intimidated, just having a terrible time of it. But what do you do when you're the man in the arena? You get up again, and you wipe yourself off, and you go back to battle, because you know you're right. You may not win all the battles, but you know you're right, and you're sticking in this battle. You're going to fight for it. I remember Pat once wrote an article, it was tough times, policies were going against those things we so believe in. And he wrote an editorial, as he does. He's the half-empty glass, I'm the half-full glass. And it basically said it's over. You know, if this policy passes and these, different regulations are implemented, it's over. And I called him up. And I said, Pat, you can walk off the field all you want, but you have no right to call the game. Because I'm still on the field with a lot of other people, and we're going to keep playing. See, we're not giving up. We know it's tough, but we're not giving up. And he understood what I was saying. He just gets so discouraged. But that's what the game plan is, ladies. You have to so believe in this cause. You have to so know that it's correct for you, for your families, for the country, that when you get knocked down, when things are going bad, you don't just throw up your hands. You don't just say, whoa, this is far more than I expected. You just get back up and you smile and you say, I'm here again. I'm back to tell you why you're wrong, okay? And you just keep showing up. They can't beat us if we keep staying on the field. They can't whip us. We just keep showing up. And that's what you have to get to, that place where you know this is right, you know this is certain, you know this is who you are. No one's going to intimidate you. Nobody's going to quiet you. You are a voice that is going to be heard. And that's what I want to tell you a little bit about. How do you do that? Because those in Washington have gone back, and those in state capitals, it's certain that they're going to make a difference. They're all the right reasons. And yet when they get back there, they back off too often. They're hesitant. The President of the United States calls them and says, I need your vote on this bill. Well, the bill is against everything you believe in. How did you vote for that? A friend told me, my president called me. How could I say no to him? How could you say no to him? Easy. If you think it's wrong for your family and for your country, it's easy to say no. How could you be hesitant to say no? How can't you say to the President of the United States and anyone else that talks to you, listen, great guy, you've done some good. I'm a big supporter. On this, you're wrong, Mr. President. You know it, I know it. How could you be supporting? How could you even support such a thing, much less introduce this as a bill? Let them know you are the person in charge of your vote. No one tells you how to vote. You decide it. We don't have enough people like that in Washington. In the state capitals, we do a lot better. All right? And that's why we're in the mess we're in. How do you get to be? So when the President of the United States or anyone else challenges, you can just say with all confidence, you're wrong. I'll tell you why. You want to debate it? Let's do it. But you're not going to get me on the other side. I always suggest to you young people that you pick an issue, any issue, and let's begin. What do you feel strongly about? What do you care about? What do you think would be a really good issue for you to become kind of an expert on? And I always use life because it's going to be a perfect way for you guys to really learn quickly about what it's like to become a leader. All right? If you're pro-life and if you're pro-choice, it still works. If your issue is immigration, great. I'm as passionate about immigration, almost as passionate as I am about the unborn. Talk to me about trade. I'm in there too. Healthcare, I'm not so passionate about. I have my positions, but I really need to work it and refine it if I'm going to debate it. Okay? That's just not the issue that drives me. So I pick life, and to make this example for you all. You pick whatever you want. And I say, if you're pro-life, let's show it. Let's go right among some pro-choicers. Go ahead. Your roommate, college roommate, your friends, people that are over at the student lounge, and sit down and say, are you guys pro-choice? I don't understand how anyone can be pro-choice. There's a child involved. The death of a child every single time. How could you possibly take this position? And don't worry, I know. You're going to have people look at you and basically, with scorn, suggest that you are anti-woman, that you're a Neanderthal. How could you even take... And by the way, you actually think a 14-year-old raped by her dad should be forced to have a child. Is that what you think? And you're going to sit there and think, well, maybe I don't think that. I certainly don't want to defend that position. That's a hard one. And maybe you're for exceptions. It's time you found out. Are you for the rape and incest exceptions? I am not. If you come to me afterwards and say, what do I do? Which is what you should do when you get into these positions. Find somebody, another pro-lifer, and say, how do you handle this? And if you came to me, I'd say on every single time, the life of a child is at stake. I can't pick and choose which children live. I have no such authority. So I believe every single time that child has a right to life. I do not believe in any abortion. I am sorry. But if you say, well, I've talked this in, I've worked it, I believe in fair enough, exceptions, all right. A lot of people believe in exceptions. That's a legitimate position to have. I'd say it's wrong, but that's okay. You might be pro-choice, I don't know. But you have to find out, what do you believe? So talk to people. And then start talking to people who've had abortions. What is the implications? Are there consequences to abortions? And yes, there are. They're amazing. There's 2 victims in every single abortion. You will learn this. You'll feel a little stronger. You'll be more certain about it. Talk to your pro-choicers. See what their arguments are. They have legitimate arguments. Listen to them and see, and then say, no, I've got the high road in here. They may talk about choice. I'm talking about life here. An innocent life at that. Okay, now you got yourself going. Okay, now you got your answer on exceptions. You know that. And that's their best argument. Put it aside. You're ready for them. Go back again. Let's hear what they have to say. So when they say this exception rule, you say, listen, that's a good point. That's a good point. I happen to believe the life of the child is paramount at all times. But I can see why people might want exceptions. Now let's talk about viability, at 4.5, 5 months. Do you believe in viability outside the womb? They can live. Hey, how about that? You think that? Start pushing them. Start learning this issue. Start to be able to talk to them. Put them. And all they're going to say is, it's a woman's right, it's a woman's right. To kill her babies? Is that what you're saying, lady? I mean, let's move it here, okay? You got to get in the debate. Hear back. Feel that uncomfortable sense of people looking at you, thinking you lesser a person, not wanting to befriend you, thinking that you're really a mean-spirited anti-woman. Go into the classroom, tell yourself, okay, I got it. I've been down this road a couple times now, taking some hits, but I think I'm ready. And you wait for an opportunity in a classroom. I don't care if it's math class, history, it doesn't matter. For something to say something about life or abortion or the march, anything that can give you an opportunity to be a voice for the unborn. Because that's what you're preparing yourself. They don't have a voice, you're going to be their voice. So you raise your hand and there you hear somebody say, so I want to make a point here. You're all laughing about this issue. Every single time a life is taken, this is one of the great tragedies of American history, actually. 50 million babies lost. Just make it succinct, because you're probably going to wilter after this. And they're all going to look at you and you're going to be like, why did I open my mouth? I feel so awkward. That's when you are grateful that you did it, because you're not ready. You feel terrible, you feel hesitant, you wish you didn't open your mouth. Now you know you're not ready. You have to do it again and again and again until you don't care anymore that they're looking askance. They're calling you names. It doesn't matter to you, because you are the voice of the unborn. That's what you're doing. You're giving an opportunity to influence, to inspire, to educate others. So there's 20 people in the room that don't like you now and don't want to talk to you and call you names during lunch. However, there is that possibility that one of those people is sitting there saying, whoa, who was that? I never heard such a position. And 2 or 3 years from now may be in a position to have to make this choice. And this daggone voice, your voice, keeps ringing in their head. It's a baby, it's a baby, it's a baby. And you save a life. That's the key. If you speak out, if you talk, if you allow yourself to express what it is you think is important, you can influence others. You can change lives. And indeed, on the issue of life, you can save lives. But if you're quiet, a nice quiet pro-lifer, votes right, and just says, this is, way too much for me, fine. But you will never be able to inspire others to change. You need to learn to be a leader. Every single one of you is capable of this. You just have to be willing. How much do you care about this issue? How much? Okay, if it's immigration, are you ready to sit down with those who believe the borders should be open? Are you willing to make your case? That's what you have to do. That's what Ronald Reagan did. And you heard it time and again, the other side, time and again. And pretty soon you said, I heard their arguments. I know their arguments. I know what I believe is this is what's right. And they're not going to quiet me. They're not going to call me names. I can tell you now, I have been called racist so many times that I answer to it now. I don't even, oh, yeah. What did you need? You have a question? I mean, it doesn't mean anything anymore. That's how you have to get. Because their argument is, we'll call her names, and then it'll quiet her, intimidate her, shame her. She won't open her mouth again. Then they win, don't they? And that's what all has been happening for 20 to 30 years in this politically correct world of ours. It's time to put that aside. We are Americans. And George Washington was quite clear when he said, the sacred fire of liberty is entrusted in the hands of the American people, not our elected, not our rich, not our famous. That's you. It's entrusted in you, in us, together. And we have to fight for it, just as he did. And so the key is, as the many, many blessings we've received by being an American, we have responsibilities. And that is to live up to what we were meant to be individuals with strong beliefs, and been given this free speech opportunity that we go use it, speak. Nobody should intimidate. You're Americans. We're accustomed to debate. We're accustomed to a little give and take. That's what it's all about, because it is who you are. You've studied the issues. You've analyzed them. You've heard the other side. You know what you believe, and nobody should quiet you. Nobody should intimidate you. Nobody should be allowed to force you to back off and not be heard. That is unacceptable. That is as un-American as it can be. But we have to rely on every one of you to become the people that can make a difference in the lives around you. You can reach people I cannot reach. And in fact, no one else in the room can reach. You can reach them. And how do you do that? You start just getting a sense. Who are you? What do you believe? And then start talking about it, letting people know. Be that proud person as Ronald Reagan is. Make a difference. You may not be interested in running for office. It's not about that. Although those who do, I sure hope, have this kind of convictions, the courage of their convictions, as well as those beliefs. But then, as you grow and do this process, which is key to becoming the kind of leaders you need to be, then you can be a leader in your own family, in your communities, as well as the country. When you go into your work, people know who you are, what you stand for. They respect that. A lot of people don't know. Think of my girlfriend in high school. She thought she knew. She was all against Ronald Reagan. Everybody was against Ronald Reagan. He was a silly kind of person with his orange hair. And yet she voted for him because he stood up for what he believed, and she felt the confidence he had and the ability he had to move the country in that direction because of the great passion he had to do it. That's who we need. I challenge every single one of you to be the kind of American George Washington knows this country needs, if not now more than ever, I believe, is now more than ever. And it is my hope and prayer that each and every one of you will pick an issue and begin tomorrow to start firming up what you believe and establish these relationships and call your friends and say, whoa, I was in this debate, I got clobbered. This is what she said, I didn't know what to say, I wasn't prepared. Good, you're not prepared. So guess what? We've all been there. Don't be afraid. Say, I'm not prepared. I guess I better do a little more reading, study a little more stuff to try to figure out what it is going to say next, and get back in again and again. It is my prayer that every single one of you understand our responsibilities as Americans and become the leaders this country so needs in the next generation. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. As you can see, I spoke very fast, but I did leave some time for questions, if anyone has any.
Hello, Ms. Buchanan. It's an honor to get to hear you speak. I was really looking forward to it.
Thank you.
But I'm very passionate about the issue of abortion. I've done the March for Life in D.C. twice already. Wonderful. And I wanted to ask you, since you're also passionate about this issue, if you could give all of us kind of 2 or 3 main points you think you should emphasize on when we're having those debates with people that have more pro-choice stance.
Excellent. I think the first thing to do is respect them. They will not respect you. Generally speaking, they just think you're outrageous. But you have to understand, I've learned from meeting and speaking and debating with so many pro-choicers, many of them have had abortions. The ones who are most adamant, the leaders of the movement, they've had, I can almost tell when I start debating somebody. And so you've got to understand, they cannot come to grips with it's wrong that it was a child. They can't. It's like, you know, I was wrong on free trade, okay? I'm not a free trader. Well, what's the big deal? I'm now a fair trader. I don't have the kind of enormous difficulty to deal with the issue as someone who's had an abortion becoming pro-life. It's a huge, difficult chasm, or they have friends or whatever. And so that's the position. They're attempting to defend the indefendable, but they're going to do it because they can't go to the next step where they realize, indeed, it's a child. It was a child. It was my child. So respect. I really believe that that's key to this debate as pro-lifers. We have the moral high ground, so keep it in our tone as well. Secondly, the point I always liked, I just never hesitate, it's a child. You know, say what you want, it's a child. You know, you can say all about what you want. You know, when this debate started back in years when abortion became legal, the left, the pro-choicers, they did not say it was a child. They said it was cells, a group of cells, just a mass of cells. Who are you to tell me what I do with my body? It's a mass of cells. It's like a mole, for gosh sakes. Well, and I used to say, if that's what it is, and you believe that, I can completely support your position, because I don't think I should tell you when to take moles off or not. You know, I don't think anybody to. That's your decision. But as time changed, they cannot say that anymore, because of the enormous, the different sonograms and things, which prove a child looks, it is a child. You're looking at it at a very early age. So that moves the argument back. So a lot of them we basically pulled from under them their strongest argument. They can't say that. It's clearly a child. And if they say, no, it's not, you can say, okay, well, how about when their hands and feet are there, you know? Now we're talking about first semester kind of stuff, all right? So they have a hard time going there. So that's number one. And then number three is what I would say is that every single time 2 lives have been badly, badly affected. There's 2 victims. A lot of times these the mothers are pressured into it. First of all, can you imagine you're in this terrible traumatic time of your life, and a boyfriend and parents are telling you this is the right thing to do. What are you thinking? You know, it's a time when you need counseling, and you're getting the wrong kind of counseling. So I think the key is that they have to know that, and you should learn and talk to people who've had abortions. And there's many, it's right on the web, Silence No More, of women who for 40 years didn't tell anyone they had an abortion and just suffered from this terrible guilt and how it's affected their lives. It's been awful. Increased alcoholism, increased drug use, increased suicide, just difficult. It's a very, very tough issue. But the key is you are defending the ones that have no defense, the unborn. And I always, when I'm in that and I'm feeling tough, I think of the unborn, Bay. You're their voice. You're their voice. This is an opportunity to maybe help one of those unborn. So be there. But then let me add one more thing, and I am in a position, and every one of you need to get to this position. Nobody can come to me with any circumstances that would convince me that abortion is correct. There is none, because I have heard the stories, I know them, I've talked to women who've had abortion, I know the whole thing. So if you have any friends, anyone who says, what do I do? You do everything you can to become their confidant, and you tell them you will be there. You will be there, but you do everything you can not to let them get that baby aborted. Everything you can. I mean, I told somebody, I think I'd lock them in a closet to keep them from doing it, because they will thank you one day. You see what I mean? You have to be that convinced. Whatever you do, what do you need? You want me to be your roommate? You want me to be there for you the whole time? You want room in and move in? Whatever. Get a doctor for you, get counseling, whatever. I will be there. And there's people out there that can help you find the people. But be there for them to the full extent you can to move that for the baby and for them as well. Other questions? Yes, here.
I have more of like an advice sort of thing. So my cousin actually got pregnant earlier this year, and she had everything planned out with her boyfriend. She's in the military, and they were all for it, and she suddenly got pregnant, and he backed out and said, kill it, don't want it anymore. And I was actually with her when they were getting into a fight about this. So this proceeded for about 2 weeks. This was literally the beginning of January. So she had him in one ear saying, basically, pick me or the baby. And then me on the other hand saying, it's a life, life, please keep it. And I kept trying to remind her, I can help out the best I can. You have your support system, you have your friends, your family, and things like that. Unfortunately, she aborted it. And so I need some advice, like, what would you have done if you were in my shoes? Is there anything that you would have done differently? Anything more that you would have done?
Well, you can't blame yourself. You certainly you did everything you could, it sounds to me. Some people will say, don't tell my parents, they're going to be so embarrassed. I'd tell them. I would, as long as the parents you think would come in and give them the kind of support that might be the extra thing that would cause her not to abort. It's a tough, that's why I mentioned this point. I know people who have had these circumstances and they felt like my relationship with my friend, I wanted to be there for her, I wanted to support her, and I tried to convince her otherwise. You have to think outside of being a friend. You have to save a life here. Friendship, and for your friend. You know what I mean? It may be not what she thinks is right, but it's right. And so there comes a point when people have free choice. You can't force them to make decisions. But you have to, I think you did everything. To me, it sounds like you said, I'll be there for you. I mean, I tell people, I'll adopt the kid. I'll find a family that will love you. You can meet the family, so you don't have to think, who's going to be raising my child? Anything if they don't want the child themselves. And then you should try to get them to go see. I think that might be the best thing, is say, I want you to do one thing for me. I want you to have a sonogram. All I ask is a sonogram. I'll go with you, we have a sonogram, it's free. And you find a life center. Because I'm told by my friends who work this business, I've always asked them, what do I say? What's the magic words? And they said, get a sonogram, 90% will not have the baby. Or some enormous number like 90%, because they see it. Now it's done. Everything you said, it's a baby. They're looking at the baby. But, don't blame yourself. You did what you could, clearly, with not much education, with not much information. It just landed on you. But it is a tough issue, but you can save lives if you just get yourself so certain. And you may want to find out people now who can help. Other people working in this business, the life centers, and meet one of them, go to the life center near the campus and say, what do you guys do if I run into somebody? So you can kind of know. But they do everything. They will give you everything that you could anywhere you have, it could possibly resolve. Other questions? Yes, please.
Thanks so much for coming to speak to us today. You were a trailblazer in politics when women just weren't in politics.
Yeah.
So I'm not scared going into a male-dominated field at all. I just want to make sure I'm prepared, and you did it when it was much, much harder than what I'm walking into. So any words of wisdom that you have, and also thank you for paving the way for us to, I think everyone would agree with that, for women to get involved. So any advice you have in terms of the men's world?
Well, it is still heavily male, but there's lots of women. And I'll tell you, I don't know how many of the men appreciate this, but there should be a woman at the table, of a senior staff table of every candidate in the country, because you bring a whole different perspective. But you have to be someone who opens your mouth. But I had 4 or 5 people on my brother's campaign who were sharp as they could be, including my brother, and they would come up with this idea and say, that's the craziest thing I ever heard. And they'd say, what? And all of them were all supportive of one another. And as soon as I leveled down, no, you're going to lose all the women on this. You need to say it differently. They'd go, she's right. You just have to tell them. They don't think of it. And it's because we relate with women. They don't in the same way. And so if you just have somebody tell them, soften it this way, do this, they will respond. Secondly, be prepared. I have a real problem with women who say, oh, they didn't promote me because I'm a woman, they didn't promote me this. I have a real issue with this. I think we're smart enough now to look around and say, look, this guy is a turkey. He is not going to, he does not properly respect the work I can do. So I need to find an out. Or I always tell people, is there an opening in something else that's available that you want, an opening? And you go for it. You ask for it. You go to him. I want you recommending me for this job. And then all of a sudden he realizes he's going to lose you. You got to decide what you want to do. Don't wait for them to spot you, observe you, and say, hey, she's good. I think I'll promote her. No, they'll keep you right there doing the good work for them. So you've got to be ready to move. But you cannot use the fact that you're a woman as an excuse for you not getting promoted. You're wasting your energy. There are people that will not like you because of your body shape or your hair color or for your skin color, for that matter. It's all there. All these prejudices are everywhere. And it happens to men, too. You know, you're too aggressive, you're not aggressive enough, they don't like the sports, you know, whatever that you're supporting. So you've got to recognize, people want people who do a good job, that are effective, that are you know, very focused on being a team player and getting the job done. And if you're that, you're going to be noticed, okay? And if your guy, whoever your boss is, or gal for that matter, is not, you know, after a while, not giving you the kind of promotion or respect that you believe, then you look around and do a lateral. It doesn't matter if it's in business or if it's in politics. But politics need good conservative women, and you need to be certain about your beliefs because they will smash you down so fast. And you'll think, okay, you know, don't. You have to be strong before you take that step. And that's the best advice I can give you. But don't hesitate to go in. If you ever run for office, being a woman and being a man, and you're running against a man, and everything else is equal, you win. The voters trust women more than men. Imagine that. However, after this year with Hillary, we may lose that. I'm not sure. We may lose that. Other question? Yes, back there.
One more question here.
Hi, so my question is, I know that you're saying be strong in your beliefs, I think you definitely should be.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Okay, I was saying that, I know that you were saying that we should be strong in our beliefs, and that's
Yes.
true, especially with abortion, the things we believe in, there's right and wrong. But working in Washington, how do you work with people when you're trying to find common ground, both staying strong in your beliefs, you know what I mean?
Yes.
How, in any workplace you have to find common ground, but especially with, you know, the other side, how do you find, you know, kind of like being a little bit more
That's an excellent point. The key here is, first of all, the appropriate time. We're a cause. So while we're you know, finding candidates and running candidates, we want them to be absolutely as committed to the cause as possible. If they're starting to waver in the daggone primary or the general, don't think for a minute they're going to be strong once they hit office, all right? So you want them to be committed, you want them to be very vocal about what they believe so that people are less hesitant to think they're going to just roll. You don't believe in big government, I don't believe in big government no matter what. It's key to what my basic principles are. I think that small government is best for the country, so you can't expect me to support anything for big government. So then somebody says, yeah, but we need to solve this Social Security problem. Okay, yeah, you're right, that's a huge issue, so how do we do this? And then you start talking to them. All right, what do you believe strongly, what do I believe strongly, and where can we solve it? You can move forward, but you can't give it up. You can't solve the issue just by throwing away the size of government, just making government bigger. That's not the answer. He was unwilling to do that. Ronald Reagan proved this brilliantly on issue after issue. He believed in cutting taxes. He ran on cutting taxes. He said he's going to cut a tax by a third. And everybody said, that's ridiculous. And he came to Washington and they said, hey, you know, Congress and its little, the guys who consultants went up to the Hill and said, they said you can get 10% cut or 12% cut. He said, what? No, I said a third. And they said, well, this is a great compromise. These are Democrats up there, you know, it's a Democratic House. And they're not going to give you any more. It's the best you can get. He says, it's not the best I can get. You watch this. And he travels around the country. I told them a third. They won't buy off on it. They only want to give me 10. Call. Make calls. I need your help, he tells the American people. And they go wild that he's asked, we're part of a team, I need your help, tell these guys what we want. And the next thing you know, with all the phone calls, we're up to 15 to 18. And Ronald Reagan said, no, I said a third. And they're like, this is unbelievable, we got 18%, this is unbelievable. And he said, no, let's try this again. And he did it again until he got 25%. All right, now, the point of this is this. He did compromise. He got 25, he gave up 5. But he fought and fought and fought for what he wanted. The American people saw he was fighting. They realized he couldn't get everything, but he got everything he could, and they cheered him. Part of the problem with Washington, they go behind some door, they make the deal, they never have any fight whatsoever. It's just, well, this is the best we could get. How do you know it's the best you could get? Why don't you try fighting for it? Try to get the American people to support you, see what will happen. But instead, we got to make deals, and that is where the American people get upset. They don't mind the fact that sometimes we got to give. They mind the fact that nobody is fighting for those things they believe. They just say, we got a problem with immigration, let's give amnesty. Well, stop, time out. Before we give amnesty and have another amnesty 20 years from now, are we going to secure the border? Because it might be a good idea to do that first, and then come back and talk to me. oh no, we can't secure the border, we'll offend our friends. Well then, you see what I mean? We need to fight, and we need to get our side doing what's right. We have to secure the border no matter what. You can't negotiate on that point. The border needs to be defended, period, end of story. Come back and talk to me about what to do with the other 15 to 20 million that might be here. All right? I think it's down to 12 now, but those numbers. So that's what I say you do in Washington. You know what you believe, you fight for it, you get as much as you can, but you make certain you do everything you can to get what you know is right. As much of it is right. And those things you can't compromise on, of course, or like you pointed out, are the moral issues such as life. You can't negotiate on life. Although if I were a governor and somebody gave me a bill that said, how about we roll back abortion to the, second trimester or viability or anything like that, I'd be signing them left, right, and center and let the abortion continue for the first 5 months, and then I'd work on that so we get back to 4. What can we do to get back to 3? I mean, I would be working on it. I would sign a bill immediately if it was just rape and incest, even though I think that's wrong too. You see, I'm trying to move it in my direction, make it better. Make it better. Not go for everything, make it better. And it can be done, but not without the fight, not without an absolutely serious battle that you want what you need to have in order to know that we've moved forward and not backwards. Thank you all very, very much, and good luck to all of you out there on college campuses.